Alabama coaches are using the bye week to shore up one of the most frustrating parts of the offensive side of the ball. Stick around. Let's talk about it. This is Way Offsides. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever the case may be. Welcome to Way Offsides, a place where the show's made up and the points don't matter because I'm just like you. I just have a camera in front of my face and we're just talking about football, baby, because we are coming up on week 4. Alabama obviously is on a bye week this week, but you know what? It's a perfect time for the Tide to get better as they have the last 2 weeks. And we're going to talk about where coaches are focusing their practice emphasis right now this bye week as they prepare to go on the road in Athens in a little over a week to take on the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, before we get there, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all the things, leave a big thumbs up on this video. Tell me in the comment section below, where, if you were the coach of Alabama, what would you be working on this week? If you don't want to say that, just leave a big roll Tide and let me know where you're watching from. I love to hear from you guys. You guys have been super supportive and great, and it just makes this a lot more fun when you leave comments. So please do leave all the comments. I'll tell you what, if we can get 100 comments on this video, we'll let Bill out of the well. For those of you who've been subscribed for a long time, you know what I'm talking about. For those who haven't, go ahead and do that and join the family. Right. All right. Alabama football, Alabama football, Alabama football. Who knows what to make of Alabama football right now? Everybody's starting to lean towards maybe this is the team we thought it was going to be going into the season. Right before that, week 1 debacle down in Tallahassee. Other folks are still cautious. Some fans are still pissed off. There's who knows. It's a smorgasbord of emotion in Alabama chat rooms, YouTube video comments, and X threads. If you don't follow us on X, you absolutely should. It's Way Offsides with 4 A's. 3's not enough, 5 too many, just like in the word Alabama. Tell them, Skip.
Way, this is all caps, W-A-A-A-A-Y, way.
Thanks, Skip. Checks in the mail, buddy. We got a live coming up tonight, 8 p.m. We're going to be talking about this topic a lot, but for those of you who can't make it or are choosing to watch the NFL game, you can watch us too. I'm just saying. Let's talk a little bit about it right now. The big emphasis this week, according to Charlie Potter, is running the ball and physicality. We all know that down in Tallahassee, Alabama looked like the best way I've heard it is they look like the nail as opposed to the hammer. Usually Alabama does the hammering, right? In Tallahassee, they did not. They looked very unphysical. Some FSU players came out and said it was like playing a high school team. You know what? They earned the right to say that. It did look that way. Now, Alabama, the last 2 weeks, have played a terrible opponent in ULM and then an okay opponent in Wisconsin who had a very, very good defense, but a terrible offense. And Alabama looked pretty good in both of those games on all facets of the game outside of a couple of problems. The biggest one being they have not been able to physically dominate the line of scrimmage on the offensive side of the ball and run the ball, which we all know is a staple of Alabama football. Now, getting ready to go in the SEC play, Alabama has to be able to run the ball. Everything works off of that, especially a team that utilizes play action pass as much as Alabama does. And yes, in Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer's system, play action pass is still extremely important. Not only that, it allows Alabama to be able to beat teams in different ways. And I'll go ahead and tell you, there is nothing more there's nothing more nauseating. There's nothing more deflating than being in a 2-score game, getting a little momentum, and then your opponent can just run the ball down your throat and score. That will, Nick Saban all the time, make them quit. You want to make somebody quit. That's how you do it. Ask Georgia. That's what they did to Tennessee last week. Now, Alabama has played 2 really good run defenses in FSU and Wisconsin. Both are in the top 20 or 30 or something like that, I think, in run defense. Very small sample size right now, but we've broken all of this down on the channel. Go watch those videos when you're done here. However, they're going to face another one next week in Georgia. The difference is they've got time to prepare, but there's also a factor working against Alabama is their ability to be cohesive, united, and intense on the road. They have not shown that since Kalen DeBoer has been the head coach, except with the exception of going to Wisconsin last season, and of course LSU. But they're according to Charlie Potter, the coaches are very, very much aware of the internal problems with Alabama's run game, and they are working on. I don't have the quote right in front of me because I forgot to grab it, and it would be unprofessional to go grab it while I'm on camera. But they are working on finding the best options which can allow Alabama to play its most physical on the road. Now, you can take that for what it is, what it means. I take it at face value. Some people are taking that to mean that they're making some shifts on the offensive line, which is possible. They may be playing around with the starters at the running back position, who's going to play, who's not going to play, who's going to get the bulk of the carries, how they're going to move those people. Obviously, it's going to be Jam Miller, assuming Jam Miller gets back. I think that they will kind of nurse him back into being the primary running back. I don't know if you want him in that kind of game, getting the bulk of the carries coming off of his injury, but who knows? He may be just ready to go. I don't know. I'm not on the medical staff there. Neither are you. We'll see what happens. That's an X factor for Alabama, but there have been people talking about Jaden Roberts, Michael Carroll getting the start over there at right guard, right tackle. So we'll see what the coaching staff decides works. Now, they did something very similar last season. It was a couple of weeks until Alabama's offensive line started to play with some cohesion. I don't think they were ever dominant in terms of just being able to push defensive lines around last year. I would love to see Alabama get back to that style of football. I just don't know that it's going to happen. And I think most fans agree with me. There's not a lot of faith that Alabama is going to be able to be that physical on the offensive trench. I just don't. I don't see it. It's not a knock against Alabama. It's not a knock against the coaches. I just haven't seen it for a while. I don't know if we're going to get that back with this particular offensive line. Looking at what Alabama's up against next week on the ground, Alabama currently is like 107th in the country in rushing. They're averaging 120 yards a game, which I think if you take the ULM game out, they're probably averaging like 60 yards a game. They ran for over 200 in that game. But if you take that game out of the equation, I don't think they broke 80 yards at FSU or against Wisconsin at home. Now, again, those are both two really good statistically with the small sample size we have. Those are two really good run defenses that Alabama's faced. Georgia is up there. They're like 30th or something like that in run defense. They may be even higher. I don't have the number right in front of me, but Georgia's going to want to stop the run. On the other flip side, Alabama's run defense isn't great, and Georgia can run the ball, or they have been able to run the ball, and that's been their primary offensive focus. So it's going to be interesting to see how Alabama approaches this offensively. I do think that, yes, running the ball against Georgia will be very important. It will be, I think, but if they can run the ball a little bit better against Georgia, it'll serve them well down the road as they go into this ridiculous SEC schedule that they have, because there's going to be other teams who aren't going to be able to stop the run as well. However, the weakness with Georgia is right now, it looks like, is in the secondary. The strength for Alabama is in its quarterback and wide receivers. So we'll see how Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb want to game plan that and what that ratio looks like between passes and carries. But the staff also has to realize that, yes, personnel is important in the run game. Who's going to fit where on the line, which running backs you're going to use, who's got the hot hand. But at the same time, they can't get away from the run just because they're not getting 6, 7, 8 pops a carry. Just, like they said they did against FSU. That really hurt Alabama, I think, in that game. And they got away from it a little bit against Wisconsin, but that's because Ty has been on an absolute heater of late. So the good news is, well, let's start with the bad news. The bad news is Alabama cannot run the ball well as of right now. They're about to play another really, really, really good run defense. The good news is that the coaching staff is very much aware of how important the run is, and they're tweaking some things per Charlie Potter right now during the bye week to try to get that run game working before they go on the road to Athens. The other good thing is I don't necessarily think they have to run the ball fabulously against Georgia. Just because I think that Ty's legit, man. I think he's growing into being the starting quarterback, and I think he's going to be fine for Alabama. And I think Alabama's going to want to attack through the air because that's where Georgia seems to be weakest. Now, notice I'm using words like seem and alleged and this and that. That's because we're working with a very small sample size. Alabama's run game could be really good, and we just don't realize it. We're just seeing it without Jim Miller, and we're seeing it up against two really good run defenses. That could be the case. We don't know because the sample size is still too small. We're only talking about 3 games. We'll know here in about 2 or 3 more weeks how good their run game can be, though. So, yeah, we'll see. So, thanks for sticking around with me. Absolutely love each and every one of you. If you can, please leave a big thumbs up on this video. Leave a roll tide in the comment section below. Let me know where you're watching from, and subscribe while you're here. We love you. You guys are the best. You're amazing. As always, say your prayers, read your Bibles, wash your hands, horns down, beat Auburn and LSU and Tennessee too. Roll Tide.